Hello, I am Julia from Julia K Art Studio, where I make primarily handmade watercolor paints and other things because I cannot stick to one thing. Like this video where I was like, have a script. No, why look at that? Anyway, it is the very end of 2024 and I wanted to do a sort of recap of the art year. In the beginning of the year, I tried to make videos at the end of each month and sort of gather up what I had created, what I had painted, and see what topics I'd used, what kind of materials I had used. This year has been a lot of medical stuff, a lot of testing, and a lot of uncertainties, and I have not been feeling very well and not very creative. With that being said, I did manage to fill 3 sketchbooks and 1 workbook. I have those linked down below so you can just take a look and see like what the kind of stuff I do with the mediums I have. But throughout the year, I thought it would be really fun to see like how much stuff do you actually use throughout the year. Now this year obviously has been very low output in stuff, like but I thought it could be really fun anyway, and I plan to do it for 2025 too, so we can have like a little bit of a difference, and hopefully we have a more even art year in 2025. So I have a little box here of stuff that when I've come across it, I'm like, I'm going to throw that away. I'm going to put it into this. So these are all empty or have dried up. And I thought it was going to be a really fun experiment because sometimes when I have art supplies, I'm like, oh, is that like, is it expensive? Or is it good value? Or because how much you actually use it. Like, it doesn't matter what a pencil costs. If you don't actually use it, it's a higher cost because you haven't actually used it. But if you get a lot of use out of it, it's a good value, right? That's sort of how I try to think of it. So that's why I have gathered it all up. So let's see what has been used and what has I bought that hasn't actually been used and just dried up. Did du vara med på video med? So I have this box, and as you can see, we have a little bit of a division here. So I'm going to take this out. So here is pens, or markers I should say. You can see we have quite a lot of these alcohol markers. They are the very high quality Touch 5 and all of these have dried out. The markers that I'm not using, I actually sent on to somebody else, so they hopefully get some use out of it, but these are just they have dried up, and I couldn't really tell any pattern with these markers, like a certain colors drying out faster, colors that I have used more or less. So I'm not really sure. I couldn't, I thought it was going to be like the colors I used the most would dry out the fastest, or like the darker colors would dry out the fastest, or the light ones, you know, stuff like that. But I couldn't find any patterns with that. But I have quite a few. Also, I find them quite hard to work with because you have this sort of chunky barrel, and then you have the fine and the broad tip, which I don't like using, and I also find them a bit hard. So it's not something I'm too upset about having lost, and I have had them for many years. And my collection of alcohol markers right now is mainly Uhuhu. The other category in this box that are sort of used up is these acrylic markers. Now these are from Pandora Hobby, but they're actually produced by Pebeo. And I have used these quite a lot, but some more than others, I should say. But they have dried out. So yeah, I mean, I think they're a fairly decent acrylic markers, but when they have run out previous years, it's not been as good or as price competitive that I have bought them again. I have bought them when they have been 50% off, but I have preferred to go with either Posca or the Amsterdam acrylic markers. I think I also have some Molotow markers, but these ones I find it's a very consistency of the quality, but I feel like these have just been not nice to work with. They have been sometimes you get a really nice flow of paint that are opaque, and sometimes you get it very much not so, and I can't find why. So I have used them as much as I can, and I do have to say I have used them and I still have like at least double the amount of these markers that I still have like in my rotation that I still use. So these are just the ones that have been used up or have that have been really inconsistent in the terms you can't actually use them anymore. More paint markers. These are Jane Davenport, and I believe these are Jane Davenport when she was still working with American Crafts. So I don't think, because Jane Davenport has her very own production right now. So these are made before she started producing her own supplies. So I can't speak for her paint markers that she produces and sell on her site right now. So these are old stuff, and I have used them quite a lot, but they have dried out. They have bitten the dust. Uh, you can really tell here. I don't see a year on it, but okay, I just had to do some Googling, and I think I have found the paint over pens, and it looks like they first came out in the end of 2017. So I guess is that I would have had them from like mid 2018 maybe, but they're still going strong. Like these two, the green and the blue, still use it. So, but it's made in the US. And I have used them quite a lot, especially this one, obviously, because it's a lavender color. However, in this case, there were a few green and blue turquoisey colors in this set, and I still have those, and they are still working fine. So in this case, it seems like the warm toned color ran out faster. Could also be that I used these the most. Keeping on with the acrylic, I feel like these are stuff that are very prone to drying out because I have two more acrylic paint markers here. These are the Karen Pigment Deco Brush, and these are the two green, lime green and leaf green. And again, because these have a different nib, so you have more of a brush nib here, which means they don't have that sort of press and release to get ink into the barrel, and these just don't get any more. And I have had some good luck with just shaking them really violently when I'm using them, but these just won't let more ink into the section here. Which is a shame because this one is one of the ones I use the most. So I could explain it. I'm not sure about the leaf green, maybe, well, I use that one quite a lot too, but I'm a little bit sad because I feel like there is more in them. You have this sort of, you can see a little bit through the barrel. So I'm not sure if I actually used it up or if it just sort of ran out. Okay, I'm going to group these together because they have a similar construction. So we have 3 markers here from Ranger, and it's made by Dilution. It's one of their designer brands. And this is a paint pen by Derwent. And what I really like about these is that they have these super tiny nibs for paint markers. Really tiny. You can get really nice details, but they just don't let more paint or ink into that chamber. But again, I think I had around 20 or so of these markers when I started, and that was a few years ago, and the other ones are still going strong. So I think either is some form of stuff with the pen thing, or I've just used them up. I can't actually see. I think I can hear a little bit when I'm shaking them that there should be some more stuff in there, but I can't get it out. I can get the paint out if I press it down, but then it just sort of floods. But I can't actually get them to work as a pen anymore. And that's the same with the Derwent pen. This one is in mint green, which I really loved, but again, I can't get it to work as a pen anymore. It just floods. I do have one Nuvo glitter marker. This one is really old, and it has dried up and it's come to its life. And I think that is mostly because it's dried. Like, it's not been used that much. I think that it should be out of juice. I think it's just dried out, and because of the construction of the pen, I can't get any more out of it. We also have some gel pens, and again, I think you can tell there is still stuff in all of them, but I just cannot get them to work. So these 4 are from a set of Kaiser Craft. They call it Kaiser Coloring, and I just wanted a lot of different glitter pens, and I think it came in a set of 24 maybe. So I still technically have 20 colors left, but these have just they just don't work, and you have this classic rollable pen, but it just doesn't roll anymore. So, and the same with this one, which I'm a little bit surprised about. It's the Jelly Roll Metallic, and I love my jelly rolls, especially the white ones. I always have quite a few close to hand here, and I don't have that issue with the others. And I also have a few others of these sort of not white, but the metallic or stuff, and they are working fine. It's just like the gold one that has bit the dust. Some water-based markers. This one came from a set from Flying Tiger. I think it was in a set of 5 or something, and it comes with these sort of real brushes, and I really like them. And this one I have just used up. And this one is a brush pen from Camlin, and this one is still, like, I haven't used them that much, but maybe you can tell it has a different reason why I put it here. It has some growth on it. Now, the other markers from this set works beautifully. I love the nib on it. They are perfect. I just had some bad luck with the black one, which is fine. I have other black markers, so I wasn't too upset about it. I just find it really fascinating about the little growth it has. In the middle of the year, I think it was, I recently did the sketchbook flip throughs, so it kind of fresh memory. I bought a 12-pack of these pencils, and they are the one with the rainbow course in them, and I loved using them. But these ones, I'm going to see if I can find. Oh, here. Just for reference, so you can see like a new one. So these 2 I just gave up on, to be honest, because they kept breaking. These were all new when I started, and I just wanted to get like, so you can draw with them, and they kept breaking off. I have tried different sharpeners. Obviously my favorite sharpener, and then I also have another Temu find where you have different like how much it takes off. And I have also tried sharpening just with a knife, but these 2 just keeps breaking. I have one on the go. It has a really nice tip on it, because yeah. So that was a very much hit and miss in terms of the value, to say, because if half of the pencil doesn't work because it keeps breaking, is it really worth it? On the other hand, I love drawing with them. So the last thing we have in here, I don't know why it's in here actually, but it's a Pentel ink cartridge that I've used up. Some other things that we've used up, obviously these take up quite a lot of space. We have 3 tubes of acrylic paint that I've used up, and I am not at all surprised about the colors. So these paints are Amsterdam All Acrylic the Standard series, and I love them for a number of reasons. Partly it's really easy to get a hold of. I really like the color selection, and it's a really good price point for me anyway. And these 2 colors, I have the Naples Yellow Red Light, and then I have the Naples Yellow Green. And what I really like about them, you can see like is very light colors, but I like to use them instead of white when I'm painting and mixing colors. And I think that's the reason why I have used so much of it. And I would say the same thing, but the opposite with this one. This is a sap green, and as you can tell, it's a really, really dark green. And I use it, like I said, the opposite way, where I use this one more as a black, either as like my darkest dark or mixing it with something else if I want to get it dark. Usually, if I want to use it as a black, I like to mix it with a purple or a red, but I just really love like this color on its own, but also for mixing color. And when you use a color on its own and also as a mixing color, they tend to run out fairly quickly when you use them. And obviously these were not full at the start of the year. A paintbrush, and you say, well, why did you not wash the paintbrush? Well, because of this. So yeah, it's a cheap brush, and I can't put more glue because it's already all glued, so it doesn't stick into the wood fibers. So it's a sad little paintbrush. Molotow paint marker in black, and it's one of those that has a double nib. However, I think this is the one where you can refill it, so hopefully I can figure out if it is refillable, and if it is, I will just refill it. I have these 2 Pilot G2 pens, one in 05 and one in 07, and I love these pens so much. And I have when you buy them, you get like with purple and pink, and I have refilled them with black, and I don't know how many times I've refilled them because I have had them for since I was back in school, so that would be that's so many years ago. Like this is like at least a 15-year-old pen, and the refills still work and everything. So you say like, why throw them away? Because the I'm not even going to touch it, but the rubber part is slimy, and I've tried to wash them. I've tried to dry them, but I think you can tell they have like a different sheen to them because they're supposed to be very matte, and it's just disgusting to touch. So I'm not even going to touch it. But these definitely have served me so well. Like I said, like the pink one is the one I bought first, and that's like 15 years ago. Let's see. We have another of the dilution markers, and I think you can tell in the lid here that it's been leaking quite a lot. So a washi tape been used up, one of my older designs, and I just saved a little bit of the washi tape so I could tell which one it was. But that kind of feels a little bit like accomplishment washi tape, you know. A white Posca in 1M, and again this one is used up because I like my white highlights. I thought I would include this one. It's a black ink from Flying Tiger. Now they are not known for the quality of the art supplies, but the ink has actually dried out in the bottle, and I thought that was pretty fun. Yes, these are gouache solid paint or gouache sticks, tempera sticks, whatever you want to call them. These are by Play Color Art, and it's the first set of these things that I bought. And they are just like a glue stick, but instead you have gouache or tempera paint in it. And yeah, this one I would say is used up. And yeah, I love them. I have a few different brands now, but this with the grey is the first ones I bought, and all the others are still going strong. And I just really love playing with them. I'm having so much fun. I was a little bit upset because obviously green was the color I used the most, but I have another set with a few more greens to compensate for that. We have some little pencils. I had another rainbow cord one, and this is a Brute Funner in 12, these square pencils. And again, this one used up a lot quicker than the others because it kept on breaking. So now some people might say, well, you can still get use out of them, but I can't sharpen them anymore. Like my fingers doesn't work. And if you can, then very great to you, but this is as far as I can still sharpen my pencils. And so yeah, they have ended up in here. We have some gouache. This is also a brand by American Craft. So a lot of these stuff were bought on because my creative journey started with scrapbooking and then mixed media and then over to art. So a lot of I had quite a few years when there was a big overlap, and one year they partnered with Paper Fashion to make gouache and sketchbooks. So obviously I had to buy the gouache. I really liked it, and it was really nice. I think I used it mostly as a background color because of this very lovely light to blue. Some watercolor. We have Payne's Grey by White Knight. I think this is my second Payne's Grey by White Knight I have used up. I love it. I think it's a really, really perfect Payne's Grey color. Now, it is a Russian brand, and I cannot in good conscience recommend Russian brands, and I know that the shops in Sweden that used to carry White Knight, they have stopped. But at the same time, I have used it up, and yeah, I won't be buying more until the Ukraine thing is over, but that's, you know, personal a personal choice by me. So another, we have a tiny little tube of a Daniel Smith in sepia. We also have a barking poodle. So okay, so we have a Prismacolor in a dark purple. I think the number ends with an 8. Last thing, we have 2 pans of my own handmade watercolors. Let's see what we have here. We have Ulle, which is just indigo. Not really surprised about that. And we also have Darcy, which is a light Payne's Grey with a lot of granulation. I think that's they're the best closest color I can come up with. So yeah, those 2 have been used up. Normally, when my colors, I don't use up my colors because I refill them before they run out. But obviously, because I haven't been making a lot of paint this year, these were used up, and then I just took a pan from the drying stack. So yeah, so this is all the art supplies that I would count as finished or emptied by 2024. I'm going to do the same thing for next year just to sort of compare and contrast. But it does really, for me anyway, raise this question about price versus value versus how much you actually get use out of them and that kind of stuff, and how long art supplies last. Obviously, if you have art supplies that are wet or that needs some form of moisture, uh, they are more likely to be able to dry out. For example, a color pencil, bad example, a color pencil won't risk drying out because it's a pencil, it's already a dry medium. On the other hand, drop them one too many times and you might risk losing quite significant part of the core. I think it's a really nice, for me, it was really nice to go over this and see like how much stuff have I used versus how much things have been lost due to drying out. Like there's a big chunk of the markers in the beginning that was just a tossed because they had dried out. And obviously that's not very fun. For me, in this case, I'm not too bothered. But if it were like the Ohuhu or the more expensive Copic markers, I would be a lot more upset because they obviously have a higher price. Now, everything that I've painted with my tube paints or watercolor gouache paints has not obviously ended up in any masterpieces, but I have at least had fun using them, and they have been the paints that have enabled me to create what I want to create and to experiment and to hopefully grow a little bit throughout the year. And for me, that is what I'm trying to see the value. For example, the gouache stick, the tempera sticks, the paint sticks, whatever people want to call them, the glue stick with paint. The value is very low. The quality is also fairly low, but I have such a good time painting with these and experimenting with them and layering them, using themselves, but also using other materials together with them. I think these and paint markers are really, really fun to use together. And for me, that increases the value of them because of the way they make me create, because you have to be creating in a certain way because, you know, the nib of them is so big. Yeah, I think that's also like, where do we put the value in it? Is it just the value of like how much money you have paid for it? Is it how like the quality of the art supply, as in the pigment, the light fast value, and so the technical specs? Or is it how it looks on paper? Or is it how you feel when you're using it? Because in the end, it has to be a combination of that creates the value for you. And for me, some of these things, even though they have been expensive and have really good technical value, I don't really care about because I haven't really enjoyed using them. When we're talking about cost versus value and we're rating all the technical stuff, I think it's really important that we don't forget the value we get out of using them. And sometimes it's hard to decide or to set arbitrary number on how much we like or dislike things. And doing this experiment clearly shows me what kind of stuff I like to use. So in 2025, I'm hoping in a more exploratory art year, and it's going to be really fun to see in a year how this crate will look and what kind of colors has ended up. I'm hoping not as much that has been dried out and more stuff that have been used up, obviously, but I don't know. Let's come back in a year and see. And I would like to know, what are the stuff that you have emptied out of this year?